welcome back to Anno 117 Pax Romana, the free demo. This free demo is available from September 2nd to September 16th, so hopefully when you're watching this video, you are able to still download it and play it for yourself. I've already made a few videos on the game to show everything that you have, show the two regions, the different tiers of population, etc. So don't hesitate to check in the video description below if you want to see this. Today in this video, I want to cover the overall feedback that I both have and that I'm hearing from the community. Because if you look at Steam right now, you'll see that the reviews are mixed. You'll see it sitting around 50% positive. So is the game really bad? 50%, I mean in Steam, this is bad. Or is there something else going on? We're gonna talk about all of this. Before we dive into all of my feedback, the good, the bad, and what's in the middle, I do want to highlight 2 points I won't actually cover in detail in this video. The first one is performance. How many FPS are we getting and those type of things. And I'll explain why. And the second is balance. And actually, I'm gonna cover both of those things for a pretty similar reason, which is that in my opinion, it doesn't make sense to talk about it for a demo of the game before launch. A demo after launch, maybe, but already a demo before launch, that doesn't make sense to talk about performance and balance. We know that this demo, that is, slice of the game, if you wish, has been created months ago. And again, this is before launch. If you know anything about game development, you know that optimization is usually one of the last things they work on. Additionally, they could have actually faked it. It is actually possible to have, for a very small demo, especially of the early game, an amazing performance and the whole rest of the game as a terrible performance. So whatever I say doesn't matter. For the performance, we're gonna have to wait for the actual launch of the game to make sure, that the performance is good. I will say so far for me, for the demo, it wasn't perfect, but it wasn't bad either. But again, this is the beginning of the game. Our city is not that huge. It doesn't mean that much. And similarly for the balance, again, usually, you finalize the balance toward the end of the game. They have even mentioned that they actually have a special balance for this demo. I think given that we only have access to certain tier of population, they have changed the balance. And again, this is months old, so they could have changed many things on the balance since. So yes, I'm not going to judge the optimization or the balance of the game that much, but I will say that so far for me it was okay. And last point of clarification is I'm going to say everything I'm saying now based on this demo alone, this free demo that is available that everybody has access to. I'm not going to judge it based on other tests, beta tests and other that have happened before, either that I may have participated in or that we've seen many other content creators participate in and share their thoughts on. I'm also not going to use information from the blogs, because they've shared a lot of information in those blogs that we haven't tried, because that wouldn't be fair. We need to actually use what we have here. Now, if you know of my channel, you know that I love Anno 1800. I spent countless hours, thousands of hours in Anno 1800. And so this is also keeping that in mind when we talk about this review here. Let's start with the good, because I do think there is a lot of good. Maybe spoiler alert, but I don't think the 50% of positive on Steam is reflective of the actual game. The actual game is good. There is a lot of good here. One is, there is a lot of Anno 1800. A lot of the good of Anno 1800 is still there. Anno 1800 was great and it's still there, so it makes this good. There is, multiple tier of population. There is complex production chains. Not that complex, not like, you need a PhD to play this game, but it's also not super simple. You're gonna need to manage different production chains. Different production have different production time. So let's take a quick look, for example, over here, our Liberty. It is the tier 1, of population. To make these hats, I'm gonna call hats because I don't know how to pronounce this. You need 2 buildings. The second building has a production time of 1 minute. The first building has a production time of 30 seconds. So you need to manage this, all right? And there is many other of those elements that add some good complexity. The fertilities. All islands don't have the same fertilities, etc., etc. Some buildings go only on river slots. Some buildings go only on the harbor. So there is a lot of goods there. The second positive for me is if you're really focusing on the world, and I'm making that very clear, I'm not talking about what's outside of the world, you know, look at where my mouse is going, but I'm talking about really the world. So the assets, if you wish, right? The buildings in particular, and the map in general. The Roman feel for me is there. It is not there in other places, we'll talk about this, but for the actual building, the actual kind of, you know, following your people around, things like this, which by the way, you can still do if you press Ctrl-Shift-R, you can still go into first person. It is obviously not, you know, gonna be AAA quality here in this first person mode, because that's not the point, but it is there, and it's better, it looks better than Anno 1800 in my opinion, and you will see tons of things happening in your city there. You will see a lot of your people are very different, you know, some are, let's say it, fat, some are not, you know, some are small, some are big, you'll see many animals, etc. But again, so it is good. I think the Roman feel is there here. Another good thing is, in my opinion, there is quite a lot of small but important quality of life improvement. Starting with, you know, the active pause. If you click here or if you press space, you are now in active pause. This means that you will be able to do everything you want in your city. Time is not moving. And this is something that people have wanted for a long time in Anno 1800. Another of those small, you know, but important quality of life improvement, in my opinion, is something like the sell all. So if you click on any of your resource, you know, let's say for example this porridge over here, you have, you know, a single good here, but you can click on all good, and then on all good you are able to sell. You know, I can say above 50, sell. Any trader that comes, it can take it and sell. Anything that, you know, as a single good I decide to change, for example, let's say for porridge, you know, do 45 instead of 50, that will overseed this all good. But at least instead of having to click on each of them one by one, I can just click on all good and it's done. Another one is, you know, let's construct a couple of houses so I can show you quickly. So this, then I press R for road. I can just click on, you know, one of these houses. It's gonna make a road all around, and that works with everything. You know, it works with a warehouse over here or houses, etc. This is really small but powerful. So I'm grateful that, you know, they take a lot of the Anno 1800 formula, but they've added some small things here and there. And by the way, I feel like that everything I've said so far, everybody in the community agrees. I've seen a lot of feedback agreeing with what I'm saying. On the next one I'm gonna share, I feel like it is not so unanimous. Some people like it, some people don't. We're gonna talk about the goods. So in Anno 1800, you have your basic needs, you have your luxury needs, and they added later on also the lifestyle needs. So you have sort of three types of needs, and for upgrading, it's the basic needs that are very important, and luxury is a bit more for your money or your happiness, and then lastly you have the lifestyle needs that are frankly mostly for population / money. Now in Anno 117, all of those three are merged into one. You only have one type of needs. Now they are separated into categories, for example, food, public services, fashion, and household. But there's only one type. You know, there's no luxury anymore and those type of things. It's one type. And if you want to be able to upgrade, for example, you know, Libertus is your tier 1, to upgrade it to tier 2, you're gonna need to provide, let's say, a sufficient amount of food, of public services and fashion, but you don't have to provide everything. So if we like, for example, at the food over here, there is two types for, again, those tier 1s in Latium. This is the sardines and the porridge. To be able to upgrade to the next level, you only need to give one of those two. If you give both, you move from green to gold. We're gonna talk about this gold in the future, but yes, basically it means you can, and obviously if you do this, you'll gonna gain more, because, you know, the sardine is 1 population, 1 income, the porridge is 2 population. So if you give both, you get 3 population and 1 income. If you give only one of them, you gain less, basically, right? But you don't have to give both. And this is, I think, an interesting choice. You know, you don't have to say, oh, the basic needs is sardines, so I have to give sardines. And then if I want to gain, you know, a bonus, I give to porridge. No, you can choose. It's one or the other. or both. So I actually really like this. I know a lot of people don't. They feel like it's a simplification, or they feel like it's not clear what you have to do. I feel like it's pretty clear what you have to do. You give just one of them, or when you get to a higher level, you need to start giving, you know, several of them, and I can explain, because basically here it shows you need to give 3, and you know, this one gives 1, this one gives 2, so giving both of these would be enough, or giving both of these would be enough, but giving only the sardine and the porridge is not enough. So it is slightly more complex. It's fine. I do like it. I think it gives choices, at the same time makes it easier in some ways to see. It's like, here are all of the types of food you can give, and here are the ones I'm giving and the ones I'm not giving. I feel like it's good. I like it. And then last but not least, on the good side for me, is the bonuses and maluses that production buildings will give. So in Anno 1800, you know, most of the cities, you're gonna have a lot of population, you know, houses, you're gonna have some services in the middle, and then on the other side of the island, you're gonna have, you know, 10 bakeries next to each other. Then here you're gonna have, you know, 10 furnaces next to each other. And then maybe on this side, you're gonna have, you know, all of your clothes production. But it's very kind of separated. And that also means that most of your cities, both for yourself, but also for others, they look the same. In Anno 117, that's gonna change. You will want probably to make cities that are a lot more organic, that mix different things. Why? Because many buildings will provide you bonuses or minuses depending on what they are next to. So if we go back to my example before of the hat, which by the way you can see is over here, we have a bonus area of effect over here. You can see it's 1 income. So this building here, for all of the buildings that are in range of the circle here, will give a bonus of +1 coins. So of course, it feels like you want to put it close to as many buildings as possible, which probably means close to a lot of houses, because these are the smallest building, right? On the other hand, you're gonna have something like this charcoal burner. This is going to reduce the health and the fire safety, so create more fires basically, by -3, so it's pretty significant, right? Because this was just -1. And again, we're not talking about the balance here, but just to show you that it matters for all of the buildings that are in this circle. So obviously you're gonna want to try to put this as far as possible from everything else, right? And then it becomes really complex when you start having buildings that can give you both positives and negatives. So let me actually show you over here. I think the bread is a good example. Yes. So the bread, the bakery, it will have an income +2, but a fire safety -2. So now you have a choice, right? Do you put it in the middle of nowhere where, okay, you're not gonna gain this income bonus, but at least you're not creating fire risk? Are you gonna put it right in the middle of your city, of your habitation, to gain tons of money, but create a really big risk of fire? Or maybe you put it kind of in the middle, you know, in a place where, I think this is another building, but anyway, or you put it in the middle where, you know, maybe it's gonna create a bit of fire, but at least you're getting a bit of money. So I don't think, to be honest, it completely changes the gameplay. Like, let's be honest, also because those things don't stack. Like, if you put 2 bakeries next to each other, you only get the impact of 1 bakery. So you're probably still going to have different neighborhoods focusing on different things, somewhat, etc. But I think it does really bring kind of more choices, a bit more complexity, a bit more thinking in the way you want to do this, and probably also more variety in your cities. So I do like this. I do like this. I think this is good. I think this is good. Now let's talk about the bad, because there is a reason why, you know, we have this 52% of positive on Steam, and I'll talk about what most of those reviews are saying. But let's talk first about what I feel. The first one is, I think, on the AIs. Now, it may be because this is a demo. They have said that in the demo, you know, things are limited. We only have access, for example, to the first 2 tiers of population that is known. So they have said that, you know, it is not possible for the AIs in this demo to declare war. It's well known, but still, I feel like those AIs are just too basic. Like, it was a bit the case already in Anno 1800, and it's still the case many years later. Those AIs don't seem that complex. You know, what you can do with them. I mean, let's click over here. You'll see right now, okay, it feels like, you know, we've discovered 2 AIs out of the 5 that will be available in this region. And when I click, for example, on Lycia, I mean, first of all, by the way, yes, hi, Diana, thank you. But yeah, first of all, Lycia, I mean, yes, it continues with the theme of Anno of always having somebody from Asia, but that doesn't feel too much into the theme first. And second is, look at this, that feels very, like in terms of UI, but also in terms of the activities that we can do with her, which I always forget what they are. Oh, here. So with the activities it can do with her, it feels very basic. It's like, oh, can you offer a gift? And there's only one type of gift. Do you want to go into a non-aggression pact or a trade treaty? Like, I know that Anno has never been, you know, about like deep kind of diplomacy. It's not a Victoria 3 or 4. It's not those type of things, but still, it feels very basic for so many years later. Like, there's so many Anno 1800 players, after one campaign, they stop completely playing with AIs because they feel like those AIs don't do anything. And I'm worried it may be the case again. Let's take it with a grain of salt because it's the demo, but that's one of my worries, let's say. The second and bigger one is the UI. Now, the first time we saw the UI, I already mentioned it. You can go back to my channel, you will see it. I talked about the UI, and I think it's been confirmed here that the UI is not the best. I'm not gonna say it's, you know, a deal breaker for me at least. I still think, you know, you can play the game, but this UI has problems. The first one is, in my opinion, it is not in theme at all. I don't feel like this UI gives me a Roman vibe. I did say, you know, I feel like the world, the asset, etc., they do give the Roman vibe. The UI, not at all. It feels like super, I don't know, like super basic, super corporate. It's hard to explain, I know, it's very subjective, right? You may feel the opposite, but personally, I feel like the UI doesn't help to get to the team. You know, it may be a small thing, but I've seen many people mention it, and I agree. The mini-map is just so small, you can't see anything. And you have this square over here inside a circle with a lot of low space for what? And again, I can't see anything. Like, do you know where my ship is right now? I don't. Like, it may be you're gonna say I'm old, my eyes are not good. Second is, again, and I know it's subjective, but I feel like most of the time it takes me way too many clicks to find what I want to find. Like, where is which production? And then there are so many times where, both because of tutorial you know, guides, but also without even tutorial guides, where things overlap, like your city watches can be found here, overlapping over this thing there. Why? And now it's this, oh no, now it's back. Why? What's happening? And even when you click on it, you know, okay, sometimes it disappears and then it comes back. Like the UI, and then, you know, click here and then something else comes. And I know many of these are part of the tutorial, but I guarantee you I've felt this many times even when taking out the tutorial. Now, speaking of the tutorial, you're gonna see over here, it says quest, but actually it's not just a quest, it's also a tutorial. Which is why also another thing is, here it says 4, and then you hover over it, and somehow there's only 3. Why? Continuing with the UI, I know some people have said they don't like the top. I actually feel like the top is working pretty well. We can see our money, we can see if we're going up or down. We have, you know, a workforce, and right now I only have 2 tiers of population, but the more tiers of population you have, the more, you know, it's gonna increase there. Here are my attributes, and when you hover over it, you can actually see where it's coming from. I'd love, you know, sometimes just a bit more information on, you know, those. but I feel like it's pretty good. You know, you click on upkeep, you see where the upkeep is coming from, then you can click on the building and go to it. So at the top, pretty good. I mean, there is this statistic here that then appears. I think this is more of a bug. I don't know what that is. But, you know, it disappears when you click on escape. But anyway, all that to say that I think the top works pretty well. I have more problem, and I feel like more people have problem with the bottom, where again, this overlapping thing slash you need to click so many times to find things often, and then you have your liberty over here, and then you have the, again, overlapping things all the time. This I feel has been a bit more of a problem. The other thing I don't like is, okay, now I have my construction resource here, but I can't choose what to show there. Yes, you could argue that at the beginning of the game, timber, seeing my timber is the most important thing, but later on it's not. Like later on, you're always gonna have a full storage of timber, and it's not gonna be important at all. So it's particularly bad in my opinion, given that in Anno 1800 you can choose what resource you see. And by the way, in Anno 1800 you also see them at the top with everything else, so you can only focus your eyes on the top. Now I have to focus my eyes both on the top and on the bottom. So that's another, you know, I know that this is again a bit subjective. There are some UX rules that I feel have been broken. Some people may say something different, but anyway, all that to say that I think we're losing here. Not be able to choose exactly which resource we're gonna see in the middle here is a problem. Now I do want to say that you are actually able to show those resources by putting them on the side here, which are sort of your shortcut for constructions of buildings. So for example, here I can see, you know, that production here, and then when you click on it, you'll be able to see it, but that is not exactly what I want. I know some people have also complained that the ornaments are separated by the actual build. I actually personally feel that this is great. I feel like having the ornaments inside your construction menu usually kind of makes it even more complex and even harder to find what you want. But, you know, to each their own. And I think it's important to talk about everybody's feedback. Speaking of which, let's recap why most people are talking about this demo in a negative way on Steam in particular. Because actually, if you look on Reddit, it's pretty positive. So many people do talk about the UI, like I've talked about here. So I really feel like there is a problem. You could argue, you know, yeah, maybe it's just people have, you know, need to get used to it. I think, of course, this is part of it. It's different, so you need to get used to it. But I think realistically, there is a number of objective things they need to fix in the UI. But if you really look, you will see that many of them don't actually talk about this UI and talk about things that frankly are not really linked to how good the game are. So for example, the limited the demo to 1 hour. We're gonna talk about it, but that has nothing to do with is the game good or not, right? I hope we can agree with this. There's also a lot that are talking about, oh, it takes too long to download. Okay, but how does that tell you if the game is good or not? Then many of the other negative reviews are on the performance or on the fact that you need to use the Ubisoft launcher, which you need for all Ubisoft game. Like, that's not new. We always knew this. I mean, I think personally, I think it's better that at least the game is available to buy on Steam versus before you had to buy everything on the Ubisoft launcher. So I get it. Like, I'm not saying those comments are not valid. We're going to talk about some of these, in particular the 1 hour limit. You know, I'm not saying this is not valid. Yes, the 1 hour limit is something to talk about. Or the fact that you need a Ubisoft account and a launcher. Yes, I know some people don't like that, and I get it. But is that a reason to say that the game is crap? No, like, let's be honest, it's not. The core gameplay, in my opinion, is really good. It's very close to Anno 1800, but Anno 1800 was great. So it's still great. But still, let's talk about some of these, and in particular, the 1 hour limit. Because even Ubisoft has posted both on their Discord and on Reddit an official note about this, you know, talking about this 1 hour limit. And I'm not saying they're right in what they're saying here. I just wanted to show it to you and explain also what my thoughts are about this. So personally, I totally understand why they have locked many things, right? Why we only have access to the first tiers of population. That totally makes sense, right? You're never going to give a demo that gives access to the whole game, especially if you then don't have the 1 hour limit. On the other hand, I have to say I'm not really sure why they have put this time limit. They say it's because, you know, this build was optimized and tested for this time, but I'm not sure, you know, that makes sense. And actually, this could be potentially worrying. Now, let's be clear, I don't want to create a conspiracy or anything like this, right? But one of the reasons why you could have like a 1 hour limit could be because you have like a memory leakage or something like this, where the more time you play, the more, you know, this is going to start taking RAM and something like this, and, you know, the game basically start crashing or not working at all. Now, I don't think this is the case, let's be clear, because I'm not seeing this in the first hour of gameplay, or you can restart a new game just after finishing the first hour, and I still don't see this. But I do think it is a bit strange to have this limit. Like, you're already limiting what is available, you know, the 2 tiers of population, so why are you limiting the time too? Additionally, I think the reason why it was a mistake and why so many players are angry about it is because Anno games are not about speed. They are about enjoying the flow. They are about taking a minute to look at your city, to enjoy putting a couple of decorations, etc. And now with this 1 hour limit, nobody's doing this. Everybody is just trying to go as fast as possible in 1 hour to see, you know, the final buildings of tier 2, to see if they can colonize the second island. You know, again, I think that was just a mistake from a almost more like marketing point of view, if you wish, right? I don't think, once more, that it is hiding any problems or anything like this. I think this was just a mistake. And in my opinion, it's a shame, because I do think the game, the core gameplay is great. The loop is there, it's working, I'm having fun playing it. But now many people see this 50% positive and maybe like, okay, another disaster coming, another Ubisoft or, you know, City Skyline 2 problem, which again, I don't think it is. I may regret my words when the game releases in November, but personally, I'm still going to play it. I'm going to show it on the channel because I'm hopeful we're gonna have a blast. Please do tell me in the comments below what you think. Do you agree with what I've said? What do you disagree with? I'd love to hear. And also do tell me, you know, if you're still planning to buy the game, if you're planning to play it. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Smash the like button and check on the channel. We're playing Anno 1800 right now. This is probably the last series for that amazing game. We're playing with 60+ mods and I'm having a blast. Thank you for watching and I hope to see you next time.